Today I've got a quick lesson on how to use parallel compression quickly, easily, and effectively when mixing in Reason. So let's first talk about what parallel compression is, and then we'll tell you how to use it quickly, right, and just get good sounds in Reason. So parallel compression, or parallel processing in any form, is basically where you take a sound and then make a copy of it, and then you process the copy and mix that processed version in with the clean original so that you can retain all of the dynamic characteristics of the original while getting the benefits and coloring and shaping of the processing. When you put them together, it's usually better than the sum of their parts. So you can often do this with distortion. That's a really good other opportunity to use parallel processing because you can mangle a sound but still keep the original sonically complete. Parallel processing is basically the same as a wet-dry knob. So if you have an effect that has a wet-dry knob, that's another way of doing this. It basically mixes between the wet signal, or the processed signal, and the dry signal, which is the unprocessed signal. So here what we're going to do is we're going to take a song, we're going to look at the bass track here, and the bass was recorded live. There was a little bit of compression going in through a Warm Audio 1176 style compressor, but basically all I have on it right now is a amp simulator, no compression on that simulator. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a parallel track, and on that parallel track we'll put in a really squashy compression to sort of accentuate the back end of the bass without, and it will squish the initial attack dynamics, but that's okay because those attack dynamics are going to be preserved in the dry channel. Additionally, we might add in a touch of distortion just to give a little edge and bite to the bass. So let's see how we do that quickly and easily in Reason. So right here we have the bass track. The first thing I'm going to do is just right click on it and say create parallel channel. So what's happening now, if we look at the rack, is if we flip the bass channel over, it's going out of the parallel out into P1 bass. So the input of P1 bass is basically the parallel output of the original bass. So any processing that I do to this first bass track is also going to affect P1 bass. But the processing that I do to P1 bass does not affect the regular bass because of the direction of the audio signal chain. The other thing I want to tell you is that you can create some serious phase issues if you, first of all, don't have delay compensation on this button right here. This basically allows Reason certain effects take a little bit of different amount of time to process. And so if you have two parallel sounds that aren't being processed in the right amount of time, you can create phase issues. There's a few other ways you can get phase issues, which we'll talk about in a sec. But let's just listen to the bass, the original bass, without any parallel processing within the context of the whole mix. We'll boost it a bit. It's not super loud. So maybe we'll bump it up. That's about the right level. And now let's bring in the parallel. So right now the parallel is just the doubling of it. It's the exact same sound without any processing. But what I want to do is squash the bass, the parallel bass. So let's just solo the two basses. That's just two basses there. Now let's use a compressor, and for this I like to use, for parallel things, I like to use a really fast attack. That way you can get rid of most of the transients. That's not what we're trying to preserve, we're trying to fatten things up. So the first thing I'm going to use is Native Instruments VC76, which is a 1176 style compressor. The default Reason compressor does it in compresses in terms of milliseconds, but this actually will compress in terms of microseconds. 7. It doesn't give you the exact values, but this is the fastest, and this is the fastest release. We'll see what sounds right. And then let's crank up the ratio. And actually I want even more. Let's just listen, this is the compressing. And that's already adding some distortion. So I don't know if this models the real 76, because the real 76 doesn't give you accurate metering information when you go to all mode. Alright, that's taking away most of the transients, but giving a nice round, warm tone. So let's mix the two together. This is the original. And let me turn this up. So you hear how longer it sounds. It fills up more space temporally and also has a bit of edge. It's also louder. So what I want to do, just to make this a better comparison, is we're going to take the output and cut it back a bit. And that's about right. So let's listen to this in the whole mix. Take the parallel out. Do you feel the extra kick and punch? Now, one thing what to use parallel compression even better, or parallel processing, is then to take these two tracks and route them to a new bus. And I'm just going to call this the bass bus, bass B, or the bass B. And this way I can control the volume of the bass with one knob in the mix. No bass. I can set the ratio between the two of them and then be able to control it with one knob. The next thing I want to do, though, is add just a touch of distortion. And I think Scream is usually a pretty good choice for this. Unfortunately, Scream doesn't have a wet dry knob, and I could use it as a send effect, but that's not what I want to show you here. So I just want to add a touch of distortion, and what we'll use is the Sound Toys Decapitator. It's great for saturation. I'll put a link below if you want to pick this up. It really does, it's sort of the gold standard in this. So you've got 5 different styles. You've got a wet dry knob here. I don't want the parallel channel to be completely distorted. So we're just going to solo the bass. And look, I just got a cat. Say hello, Bermuda. So this is how much drive. We'll start with like 5, and let's listen to what this sounds like. Now let's do fully wedges this time. We want it brighter. Yeah. And here's the different modes. That's about right. Let's cut a little low end. Let's bypass it. See, it's round without it. But this brings out a bit of an edge. This is just the plain bass. Alright, now let's hear it in the mix. Bypass the decapitator. One thing you gotta listen for when you do parallel is whether or not the signals are canceling each other out with phase. So try the invert button here. That sounds a little better to me. Another thing we might want to try doing is just scoop out some of the lows here. Actually, let's try a high pass filter just really low. And this way, just by doing a little bit of that extra EQ, you're focusing in on what you want to enhance with the parallel channel. You're not just enhancing the entire spectrum. So you're allowing the main bass to speak for what it needs to, and then the others. So now let's mix in the parallel channel to the right level, and then we'll be set. So we've got the bass here. And let's start with that. And actually, let's bring the regular bass down to unity. Well, yeah. And then we'll bring the bass bus volume up a bit. Gain staging. This is just, see, that's just the parallel channel, and that doesn't sound good at all. It's over compressed, it's flabby, it's too distorted to have bassy tones. But now let's bring you back down to maybe -10 and you to unity, and now let's hear. Take it out. Maybe it's a little too aggressive with distortion. That's it there. So there you have it. That's how you use parallel compression in Reason. If you've got any questions, be sure to leave them below. If you've got any suggestions or if you use parallel compression differently, let me know. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.